Greetings, LEGO fans! Lockdown restrictions have finally been lightened in Montreal, and now's the time to get out in nature and start building some LEGO. And for today's build, we have Spider Mech versus Venom. This is kit number 76115 and it's 604 pieces. And this is another kit which just kind of caught my eye as I was going on the aisle because here we have this giant Venom and a giant Spider-Man mech, which sounds kind of fun to play with, I gotta be honest. And but I have to say, for me, I'm really looking forward to getting the Venom minifigure. That one I don't have in my collection, so that's what really sold me on this kit in the end. But it should still be a fun one to play with. So let's open the box, see what we have inside, and get this underway. Spider Mech vs. Venom. Fun little playset whose name I don't think properly describes what you get. Because there are two mechs in here, the Spider-Man mech and the Venom mech, each having design elements and color schemes that match each individual character's personality and traits. So, let's have a closer look at these guys, starting with the Spider Mech. Standing at about 14 centimeters or 5 inches tall, and being decked out in the classic blue and red Spider-Man colors, this lightweight mech looks to be both quick and nimble, much like its pilot. Equipped with ball joints at the ankles, hips, shoulders, elbows, and having the right wrist being able to rotate a full 360 degrees, this agile little mech is easy to pose into whatever standby or combat stance that you desire. On the right arm, we've got this giant web-themed claw-tipped pincer that goes from fully open to fully closed, so if you manage to capture Venom, you can hold on to him with this. And on the left arm, no Spider Mech would be complete without a web slinger. Here we have this cool little web-shaped Lego element attached to a basic stud and mounted in a classic stud launcher. And while this does provide some cool play action, I do find that the web to be a little heavy for the stud shooter, so when you fire it, it doesn't really go that far. But still a lot of fun to play with, so I'll take it. And finally, on the back of the forearm, we've got these two little spider elements, which I've never seen before, think look pretty cool, so I thought they were worth mentioning. And now for the Venom Mech. This guy stands about 18 centimeters or 7 inches tall, so is about 50% larger than Spider-Man, which kind of makes sense because Venom's supposed to be a little bit larger, beefier, and more intimidating than Spider-Man. Also having ball joints in his shoulders, elbows, and rotating wrists, The Venom Mech uses more robust mechanisms for the hips and ankles. This is not to say the Venom Mech is any less posable than the Spider Mech. It's just that this guy's a little bit beefier, a little bit stronger, so you needed something that looked a little more robust than what the Spider Mech had to offer. While not being equipped with some giant pinchers or a web slinger, I find the claws on the Venom Mech to be way more intimidating. Equipped with 3 fingers, an opposable thumb, and 4 intimidating talons, the Venom Claw has a range of motion from intimidating to minifigure death grip. And of course, no Venom figure would be complete without this big, huge mouth, sharp razor teeth, and the iconic tongue, which just loves to flail about. And while this one, being made of Lego, is of course not flexible, it does have 2 joints, so you can rotate it around to get a variety of poses for it, so that's pretty satisfying. And that brings us to Ghost Rider and their hoverboard. Not too much to see here, pretty much what you see is what you get. But I do have one small complaint here, and it's a complaint I've had with a lot of small kits, and that's these stud shooters don't actually face forward. I'm looking forward to the day when Lego makes a new type of stud shooter, one that can point directly forward, taking care of this little annoyance for me. And that brings us to the minifigures, where we have Spider-Man, Ghost Spider, Venom, and Aunt May. And now for my concluding thoughts. I think it's pretty safe to say that this set was really made for play and not so much for display. I mean, it's pretty small, it's cheap, and it's a lot of fun to play with, so that's great. But I do have to say that I feel this playset was made more for junior hands. The Spider Mech, being kinda small, I can only really grab him with my thumb and index finger, pinching him right around the waist. And the Venom Mech, being a little bit larger, he's a little easier to grab, but still, I find myself not quite sure where to place some of my fingers. That's not to say that these adult-sized hands haven't had some fun playing with these guys, or posing them into some interesting positions. As an inexpensive playset, I find this one has a lot to deliver. And for those looking to expand their minifigure collection, this set's also a pretty good value. Personally, I don't think I'm going to keep the Spider Mech assembled for too long, but this Venom guy's pretty cool, so I think he's going to be sticking around for some time yet. But like most of my play kits, this one's also going to end up in my part bin, which is definitely not a disappointment.